Coming up, former Vice President Joe Biden is the 46th President-elect of the United States.
And Vice President-elect Kamala Harris makes history as the first woman and woman of color to hold this position. All of this and more tonight.
Hello and welcome to WEBN Political Pulse. I'm Sophia Giordano.
And I'm Tamayo. We begin with this election week top stories.
It's official. Former Vice President Joe Biden is the 46th President-elect of the United States. All major news networks projected Biden's victory on Saturday, 5 days after Election Day. Saturday evening, Biden gave a speech near his home in Wilmington, Delaware, taking an opportunity to bring the nation together. Take a look.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now, let's give each other a chance.
The president-elect is inheriting a huge challenge now, a divided country and a global pandemic. He will take office after his inauguration ceremony in January.
Along with our new president-elect, we have our Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. She is both the first woman and woman of color to hold this position. She was chosen as Biden's running mate back in August after having a run for president herself. She is currently a U.S. Senator for California and has previously worked as a district attorney and prosecutor. In her speech on Saturday, Harris encouraged future generations to see her accomplishment as possibilities.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way.
Harris also said that even though the road ahead was not going to be easy, she was ready to face it with President-elect Joe Biden.
President Trump has publicly defied the results of the election, claiming widespread voter fraud and issues with ballot counting. But according to CNN, the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is urging him to concede. Another source saying that First Lady Melania Trump has privately said it's time for her husband to accept defeat. This comes as the president continues to pursue legal challenges in states that flipped for Biden later in the election. The only 2020 candidate to concede so far is Kanye West.
The racial justice organization Black Lives Matter wrote a letter to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It was made public on Twitter on Sunday, just a day after their confirmation as elected officials. The letter speaks about the importance of Black people in the results of the election. As well, the letter urges the new officials to take action against systemic racism and to consider the importance of Black people as they manage the country. There is no reported response from Biden and Harris yet.
When we come back, Trump supporters continue to protest election results, and a look at how Bostonians reacted to Biden's victory on Saturday. Don't go away.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high-five.
Welcome back to WEBN Political Pulse. President Trump refuses to accept defeat, and his supporters are right behind him. Over the weekend, Trump supporters across many major cities gathered to protest the results of the election. The president's supporters were claiming without evidence that there was widespread voter fraud, chanting, "Stop the steal," and "This isn't over." The demonstrations attracted anti-Trump counter-protesters with Biden-Harris signs, a true testament to how divisive this election has been.
Trump supporters in Massachusetts responded to the election results in a protest on Friday. The supporters expressed their wishes to see the election results be settled by the Supreme Court. They condemned what they allege is a fraudulent presidential election and demand justice for it. Despite the scandal that mail-in voting has created, there is no evidence to date about a widespread issue of voter fraud regarding the 2020 election.
Bostonians were out in full force Saturday evening to celebrate Joe Biden's victory. WEBN's Tyler Englander has more.
Over 2.5 centuries after Bostonians first fought for freedom, people took to the streets to celebrate the power of democracy.
I just wanted to commemorate the moment, be around the people in the city that I love.
At around 11:30 this morning, Joe Biden was elected President of the United States after reaching the 270 electoral vote threshold. Since then, hundreds of Bostonians have gathered on the corner of Boylston and Charles Street to celebrate his election. They say change has finally come to America.
As a Muslim, and since the presidency of Donald Trump, I've lived in fear. My family and I lived in fear for those 4 years. And now, since Biden has won, I can say I'm a Muslim loud and proud.
Brazilian immigrant Andre Martins believes the election of Joe Biden is a win for tolerance.
The last 4 years as an immigrant have been 4 years of unrelenting terror and anxiety. Just knowing that he won't be in the White House is a huge relief that is undescribable.
Supporters of Biden say their work is just beginning.
It is this energy and camaraderie that is going to lead us to a new step in the future.
Regardless of who you voted for in this election, Americans are hoping the next 2.5 centuries are as successful as the first. In Boston, Tyler Englander, WEBJ News.
Thank you, Tyler. The Massachusetts All-Democratic Congressional Delegation congratulated new President-elect Biden this past Saturday. They called it, quote, not only a big win for the country, but also in Massachusetts. This statement is in direct correspondence to the result of the election, considering all eligible counties of Massachusetts voted blue in this year's election.
In addition to the presidential race, Massachusetts voters had 2 additional questions on their ballot this election: right to repair and ranked choice voting. Voters decided overwhelmingly to approve the second right to repair bill in Massachusetts, with 74.9% voting yes. This allows independent repair shops to access computer software needed to fix most cars. Critics of the initiative pointed to concerns about data privacy. Voters narrowly decided against switching to a ranked choice voting system. The Yes on 2 campaign pointed to a public lack of understanding and limited outreachability due to the pandemic as possible explanations for the loss.
Stay tuned for our international news section and how world leaders are reacting to the U.S. election. Results coming up right after this break.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back. Multiple world leaders have already taken to social media to congratulate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson writing on Twitter, quote, I look forward to working closely together on our shared priorities, from climate change to trade and security. Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin also tweeted that Biden, quote, has been a true friend of this nation throughout his life, and I look forward to working with him in the years ahead. Some leaders choosing not to hide their excitement, with the mayor of Paris simply tweeting, welcome back, America.
Despite many nations worldwide congratulating Biden, there are still a few who haven't responded. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has chosen to remain silent until legal challenges to the results are over. This is in order to prevent possible friction with their neighboring nation. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is also one who has yet to release a statement. Bolsonaro has previously received both praise and criticism due to his similarities to President Donald Trump. He had expressed hope for Trump's re-election, but has kept largely silent during this week.
And whether they've congratulated Biden or not, many world leaders are thinking about the global impact of this election. President Trump's America First strategy created some tense relationships with U.S. allies overseas. The many congratulatory messages were followed with hopes for a more unified worldview from the Biden administration. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari tweeted, "I urge Mr. Biden to employ his vast experience in tackling the negative consequences of nationalist politics on world affairs, which have created divisions and uncertainties. It's really amazing to see the worldwide reaction to this U.S. election." And Patty, this election cycle has been historic in so many ways outside of the presidential election. Just to name a few groundbreaking candidates for you, Sarah McBride is the first openly trans person elected to Delaware State Senate. Richie Torres and Mondaire Jones are the first openly gay black men elected to Congress. Cori Bush is the first black woman elected to Congress in Missouri. And Mauree Turner will be the first non-binary state legislator in the U.S. and the first Muslim lawmaker in Oklahoma. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Lots of historic elections for LGBTQ and BIPOC candidates in 2020. And there were some historic results as far as local legislation, right, Patty?
Absolutely. Some of the ones that sparked the most interest were those on drugs. There were many states who decriminalized marijuana recreationally, and also in Oregon there was a decriminalization of small portions of harder drugs.
And what did that change the punishment to?
Okay, yeah, so before, when it was criminalized, people could be jailed for it. As for now, they might be fined, but they are not going to go to jail for it.
Gotcha. And this was probably one of the longest election coverage cycles as far as news goes. You and I were both part of WBN's election show, or
Proudly.
election coverage. That was a little tense.
Yeah, definitely a little tense. There was a lot of waiting that had to be done, and also a lot of work, but definitely learned a lot from this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to all the journalists out there for your dedication, and special shout out to the so-called chart throbs, Steve Kornacki and John King. And thank you for watching WEBN Political Pulse. I'm Sophia Giordano.
And I'm Patty Tamayo. For more, visit WEBN.TV or check out our YouTube channel. Have a great night.